New York City, Caldwell Enterprises headquarters. Ethan Caldwell leaned back in his executive chair, a smirk playing at the corners of his lips. His office, perched atop a high-rise in Manhattan, was the epitome of power: floor-to-ceiling windows, dark oak furniture, and a panoramic view of the city. Across from him sat Victor Langley, his top real estate lawyer, tapping his fingers on a thick stack of documents. Langley's suit was pristine, his silver watch glinting under the office lights. But despite his polished exterior, he looked uneasy. "Ethan, you're playing with fire here," Langley said, adjusting his tie. Ethan chuckled, swirling the amber liquid in his whiskey glass. "Relax, Vic. It's just business." "Just business?" Langley shot him a sharp look. "You're evicting an entire neighborhood. Hundreds of families, small businesses. These people have nowhere to go." Ethan waved a dismissive hand. "Spare me the morality speech. This isn't a charity, it's real estate." He leaned forward, his blue eyes gleaming. "That land is sitting on a gold mine. I'll tear down those rundown buildings and replace them with luxury condos. It's not personal, it's profitable." Langley exhaled slowly, rubbing his temple. "You didn't tell them the whole truth, did you?" Ethan scoffed. "Of course not. If I told them we were planning a $200 million development, they'd never sell. Instead, I offered them fair market value. And guess what? They took it." Langley frowned. "Because they didn't know better. You underpaid them, Ethan." Ethan smirked. "That's not my problem." Langley hesitated. "And what about the tenants? The ones renting?" Ethan leaned back, sipping his whiskey. "Eviction notices go out next week. They have 30 days to leave." Langley shook his head. "This is going to get ugly." Ethan grinned. "Only for them." The neighborhood in peril. Across town, in the heart of Willow Heights, an aging but close-knit neighborhood, the news of Ethan's buyout was spreading like wildfire. Inside Rosa Alvarez's cafe, La Esquina, the tension was thick. The small shop, known for its rich Cuban coffee and warm atmosphere, was packed with locals murmuring in distress. At the counter, James Carter, a retired schoolteacher, slammed a notice onto the table. "This is robbery." 30 days? "I've lived here for 20 years. Rosa, a short woman in her 60s, adjusted her apron with shaking hands. "They can't do this. We have rights, don't we?" Malik Thompson, a single father and mechanic, exhaled sharply. "Legal or not, we don't have the money to fight a guy like Caldwell." The door swung open, and in walked Mia Sullivan, a sharp-eyed young journalist from the New York Chronicle. She pulled out a notepad. "I heard about the evictions. I want to run a story." James frowned. "What good will that do? These corporate guys don't care about bad press." Mia smirked. "Maybe not. But investors do. If I can make enough noise, maybe we can stall the project long enough to find a real solution." Rosa's eyes lit up with hope. "You really think that could work?" Mia nodded. "Ethan Caldwell is powerful, but even he can't ignore public outrage." The group exchanged glances. Maybe they had a chance. The confrontation. 2 days later, Ethan strolled into a high-end restaurant for a business lunch when a familiar voice called out too loudly. "Ethan Caldwell. Care to answer some questions?" Ethan turned to see Mia Sullivan standing there, holding her phone up, already recording. "Damn reporters." He forced a smile. "Ms. Sullivan. To what do I owe the pleasure?" Mia took a step closer, her eyes locked onto his. "You just bought out Willow Heights and are evicting hundreds of people. Any comment on the families losing their homes?" Ethan sighed, adjusting his cufflinks. "I understand change is difficult. But let's be honest, those buildings are falling apart. I'm bringing in jobs, investments, a higher standard of living." Mia raised an eyebrow. "For who? The people you're forcing out?" Ethan smirked. "For people who can afford it. gasps echoed from nearby tables. People had started paying attention. Good. Let them see who they're dealing with. Mia tightened her grip on her phone. So you admit you're kicking them out for profit? Ethan chuckled. I admit nothing. But I'll tell you this, your little sob story won't change a thing. The deal is done. Mia's jaw clenched. We'll see about that. Ethan watched as she stormed out, shaking his head. Reporters. They always thought they could change the world. Too bad for her, Ethan Caldwell always won. Willow Heights, the fight begins. Mia Sullivan sat at her cluttered desk at the New York Chronicle, typing furiously. The headline at the top of her article read, Loudspeaker luxury at what cost? The man destroying Willow Heights for profit. She had spent the last 2 days gathering testimonies, digging into Ethan Caldwell's real estate history, and exposing every shady deal he had ever made. But now, she needed one last thing, a spark to light the fire. She picked up her phone and called James Carter, the retired schoolteacher. James, we need to go big. A protest. Something the media can't ignore. James hesitated. A protest? We're not exactly activists, Mia. Mia leaned forward. You don't have to be. We just need to show the world what's happening. If we get enough coverage, investors will start pulling out. Caldwell will have no choice but to back off. James sighed. Fine. I'll talk to the others. Mia smiled. Good. I'll take care of the rest. She hung up and immediately called her editor. I want my article front page, online and in print. You better hope this is good, Sullivan. Mia smirked. Trust me. This is just the beginning. Ethan gets blindsided. Ethan Caldwell sat in his penthouse, sipping a cocktail as he skimmed his latest financial reports. Profits were soaring, investors were pouring money into his latest project, and everything was going exactly as planned. Until his phone buzzed. It was Victor Langley, his lawyer. Ethan. We have a problem. Ethan sighed. What now? Langley exhaled sharply. The New York Chronicle just published an exposé on you. It's everywhere. Ethan frowned, flipping open his tablet. Right there, on the front page, was Mia Sullivan's article. Loudspeaker luxury at what cost? The man destroying Willow Heights for profit. His smirk faded. Langley kept talking. And it's worse than that. The residents are planning a protest tomorrow. They've already got city council members involved. If this keeps snowballing, investors will start backing out. Ethan clenched his jaw. This is just noise. A bunch of broke people screaming into the void. Not this time. Langley's voice was tense. Social media is exploding. People are calling you New York's biggest crook. Even celebrities are tweeting about it. Ethan's fists clenched. Damn that reporter. He took a deep breath. Fine. We kill the story. Langley hesitated. How? Ethan's smirk returned. I have my ways. The protest turns chaotic. The next day, hundreds of people gathered in Willow Heights. They held signs. Loudspeaker homes over profits. Loudspeaker stop Caldwell. Loudspeaker we won't leave. James Carter stood at the front, speaking into a megaphone. Ethan Caldwell thinks we're weak. He thinks he can throw us out like garbage. But today, we show him that we are stronger together. The crowd roared in agreement. Mia Sullivan was there, recording everything for the Chronicle's social media pages. This was it. This was the moment they turned the tide. And then the chaos started. Out of nowhere, a group of masked men appeared, pushing through the crowd. They shoved people, tore up signs, and started fights. Police sirens wailed, and within minutes, officers stormed in, breaking up the protest. The scene turned violent. People were arrested, headlines spun out of control. And from the comfort of his penthouse, Ethan Caldwell watched it all unfold on the news. A slow, satisfied smirk spread across his lips. And just like that, the protest is a riot. Langley's voice came through the speakerphone. You paid those guys to start the chaos, didn't you? Ethan swirled his drink. What do you think? Langley sighed. Mia won't stop. You know that, right? Ethan's smirk grew. Then it's time to make this personal. New York Chronicle office, late night. Mia Sullivan rubbed her temples, exhaustion pressing against her skull. The protest had been hijacked. Instead of the headlines reading, loudspeaker residents fight back against greedy developer, they read, loudspeaker violence erupts at protest, Caldwell's opponents turn rioters. It was a setup. She knew it. Mia scrolled through the footage she had captured. She paused on a frame, a man in a black hoodie pushing an elderly woman. Her instincts kicked in. He wasn't a protester. She zoomed in. His face was partially visible. This was planted. Her phone buzzed. James Carter. She answered. James, I think I can prove the riot was staged. Mia, are you at the office? His voice was tense. She frowned. Yeah, why? James hesitated. Get out. Now. Her stomach dropped. What? James's voice lowered. I don't know how, but Ethan Caldwell got my number. He just called me. Mia's blood ran cold. He called you? Yeah. And he said, tell Mia to back off. Or she won't like what happens next. The air in the office suddenly felt suffocating. Mia? James pressed. She swallowed. I hear you. I'm leaving. She grabbed her bag, shoved her laptop inside, and headed for the exit. But just as she reached the door, the lights in the office shut off. The entire newsroom went dark. Mia's breath hitched. The only light was the faint glow of streetlights from the windows. Then, footsteps. She wasn't alone. Ethan's warning. Mia backed toward her desk, her pulse hammering. A shadow moved. She grabbed the closest thing, a heavy coffee mug, and clutched it tightly. Mia Sullivan. A voice echoed through the room. Low. Calm. Deadly. She gritted her teeth. Who the hell are you? The figure stepped forward slightly. A man. Tall. Dressed in black. A friend. His voice was smooth. Mr. Caldwell wants you to reconsider your career choices. Mia tightened her grip on the mug. Tell your boss I don't scare easy. The man chuckled. You should. Then, he lunged. Mia threw the coffee mug, barely missing his head. She ducked, grabbing a chair and swinging it wildly. It connected with his side, making him stumble. She bolted for the door, but he recovered fast. A hand grabbed her wrist. She twisted, yanking free, and slammed her knee into his stomach. He grunted, staggering back. Mia didn't wait. She ran. Out of the office. Into the hall. Down the emergency stairs. She burst onto the street, gasping for air, heart pounding. Her phone buzzed. James again. She answered, breathless. James, I was just attacked. James swore. You okay? Mia swallowed hard. Yeah. But this isn't just about real estate anymore. Her voice hardened. Ethan Caldwell just declared war. Ethan's confidence. Meanwhile, in his penthouse, Ethan Caldwell leaned back in his chair, sipping his whiskey. Across from him sat Trevor Marks, his private enforcer, the man who had just broken into Mia's office. Ethan smirked. So? Did she get the message? Trevor wiped a bit of blood from his lip and shrugged. She's got a mean right hook, I'll give her that. Ethan chuckled. feisty. But she'll back off now. Trevor hesitated. Not necessarily. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? Trevor leaned forward. I've seen people like her before. You pressure them? They push back harder. Ethan's smirk faded slightly. Trevor continued. She's not going to stop. In fact, I think you just made her more dangerous. Ethan swirled his drink, considering. Then we'll see how far she's willing to go. Because he wasn't done with her yet. Mia Sullivan's apartment, 3 a.m. Mia locked her door, triple-checking the deadbolt. Her hands were still shaking. The break-in. The attack. The warning. Ethan Caldwell had just made this personal. She dumped her bag onto her desk, her laptop clattering against the wood. She needed to hit back. Hard. She opened her laptop and pulled up everything she had on Caldwell. Open file folder real estate acquisitions. Open file folder eviction notices. Open file folder shady business partnerships. But she needed something bigger. Something that would destroy him. Her phone buzzed. James Carter. Mia, are you safe? His voice was tight with worry. Mia exhaled, still on edge. For now. But James, we need something stronger. We need proof of criminal activity. James hesitated. I might know someone. Mia sat up. Who? James sighed. A guy named Darius King. Used to work for Caldwell until Caldwell screwed him over. Mia's pulse quickened. Where is he? James hesitated. If he's still alive? You'll find him in Harlem. But Mia. Darius isn't exactly the friendly type. Mia grabbed her coat. I don't need friendly. I need the truth. Harlem, an unexpected ally. The bar was run down, the neon sign flickering, half the letters burnt out. Inside, the air smelled like whiskey and regret. Mia spotted Darius King immediately. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a scar running across his cheek. A man who had seen too much. She approached cautiously. Darius King? Darius didn't look up. Who's asking? Mia pulled out her notepad. Mia Sullivan. Journalist. Darius let out a dark chuckle. A reporter? Yeah, no thanks. He took a sip of his drink. Go write your little article somewhere else. Mia didn't move. Ethan Caldwell tried to have me killed last night. That got his attention. Darius slowly turned toward her, his expression unreadable. That bastard finally went full gangster, huh? Mia nodded. You used to work for him. I need to know everything. Darius studied her, then exhaled. Caldwell's a snake. But I'll tell you what you need to know on one condition. Mia crossed her arms. Which is? Darius leaned forward. You make damn sure that when Caldwell falls, he never gets back up. Mia's jaw tightened. Deal. The secret that could ruin Caldwell. Darius took a deep breath. You're looking in the wrong place. The real dirt on Caldwell? It's not just about evictions. It's about murder. Mia's breath caught. What? Darius nodded. 3 years ago, Caldwell had a problem, a guy named Luis Ortega. A contractor who refused to take bribes. Mia's stomach turned. What happened to him? Darius's eyes darkened. He disappeared. And a week later, his body washed up in the East River. Mia's heart pounded. You're saying Caldwell had him killed? Darius nodded. I'm saying Caldwell made him disappear. And the cops never looked into it because Caldwell paid them off. Mia's hands tightened into fists. She had wanted a story. She just found a murder. Ethan gets a warning. Meanwhile, at his penthouse, Ethan Caldwell poured himself a drink when his phone rang. Trevor Marks. Ethan sighed. Tell me you have good news. Trevor's voice was tense. We have a problem. Mia's talking to Darius King. Ethan's grip on his glass tightened. Darius? That rat's still alive? Trevor exhaled. Yeah. And if she gets him to talk? It's over. Ethan's jaw clenched. Then we make sure she doesn't publish. Trevor hesitated. Ethan, we've already tried threats. We tried scaring her. It's not working. Ethan's eyes darkened. Then we stopped playing games. A long pause. Then Trevor spoke. You want me to take care of it? Ethan took a slow sip of his drink, his mind calculating. Then he gave the order. Yes. Make her disappear. Mia's apartment, 2:13 a.m. Mia sat in her darkened apartment, staring at her laptop screen. She had it. The file Darius had given her contained bank transfers, emails, and even a phone call transcript linking Ethan Caldwell to Luis Ortega's disappearance. A murder cover-up. She should have felt victorious. But instead, her heart pounded. Because she knew what came next. Ethan wouldn't just try to discredit her. He would try to erase her. Her phone buzzed. James Carter. She answered. James, I have proof. I'm publishing first thing in the morning. James hesitated. Mia, you can't stay in your apartment tonight. Mia frowned. Why not? A pause. Then James's voice dropped to a whisper. Because Caldwell just put a hit on you. Mia's blood ran cold. How do you know? Because a guy I know in law enforcement intercepted a message from Trevor Marks. He took a deep breath. Mia, they're sending someone. You need to leave. Now. Mia's stomach clenched. She had waited too long. She was out of time. The escape. Mia grabbed her laptop, shoved it into her bag, and pulled on a hoodie. She peeked through the window. The street was empty. Too empty. She swallowed hard and grabbed her car keys. She needed to move fast. She slipped out the back door, creeping down the alley behind her building. The city hummed around her, but something felt wrong. Then she saw it. A black SUV parked across the street. Headlights off. Her breath caught. Someone was inside. Watching. Waiting. Then, the car door opened. A man in all black stepped out. Trevor Marks. Mia's chest tightened. He found me. Trevor turned his head, scanning the street. He hadn't seen her yet. Mia turned and ran. The chase. Her sneakers pounded the pavement as she darted through side streets, weaving through alleys, dodging trash cans. Behind her, Trevor's heavy footsteps echoed. He was fast. Too fast. Mia. His voice was a snarl. You can't run forever. She burst onto a main road, desperate for a taxi, a bus, anything. Then tires screeched. A car pulled up beside her. The passenger door flew open. Get in. Mia's head snapped toward the driver. Darius. She didn't think. She just jumped in. The car sped off. Trevor skidded to a stop, watching them disappear. He pulled out his phone. Dialed a number. Boss. We have a problem. Ethan's breaking point. Ethan Caldwell sat in his penthouse, swirling a glass of whiskey, when Trevor's call came in. Tell me it's done. Trevor's voice was tight. She got away. Darius helped her. Ethan's grip tightened on the glass. You're telling me she's still alive? For now. Ethan exhaled sharply. This was spiraling out of control. First, Mia wouldn't back down. Now, Darius was working against him? Ethan set down his glass and stood. Find them. Finish it. Trevor hesitated. It's getting messy, Ethan. Ethan's voice dropped. I don't care how messy it gets. Just get it done. He ended the call, his jaw clenched. He had built his empire on ruthlessness. And he wasn't about to lose now. Mia's last move. Inside the moving car, Mia clutched her bag, her pulse still racing. Darius kept his eyes on the road. Where's the file? Mia opened her laptop. Right here. Everything we need to take Caldwell down. Darius nodded. Then we don't stop. We go public. Right now. Mia's hands trembled over the keyboard. If she published this, it was over. Caldwell would be exposed. But he would also stop at nothing to silence her. She looked at Darius. Once I hit publish, there's no going back. Darius smirked. Good. I never wanted to. Mia took a deep breath. And pressed the button. Caldwell Enterprises, 6 a.m. Ethan Caldwell's morning routine was always the same: wake up, pour a drink, check his stocks. But this morning was different. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing. The second he glanced at the screen, his stomach twisted. Loudspeaker breaking news: Ethan Caldwell exposed in murder cover-up. Loudspeaker: FBI opens investigation into real estate mogul following explosive report. Loudspeaker: hashtag Caldwellgate trends as city demands justice. Ethan's grip tightened on his whiskey glass. Mia had done it. She had exposed everything. His secret bank transfers. His cover-up of Luis Ortega's murder. Even his ties to dirty cops. This wasn't just bad press. This was war. The door to his office slammed open. Victor Langley, his lawyer, stormed in, face pale. Ethan, we have a situation. Ethan scoffed. No shit, Victor. Langley tossed a legal notice onto his desk. The FBI is opening an official case. They're freezing your assets. Ethan's jaw clenched. They can't do that. Langley exhaled. They just did. Ethan rubbed his temples. Fine. We shift funds. Move everything offshore. Langley hesitated. That's not an option. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Why the hell not? Langley swallowed. Because your bank accounts were leaked. The feds flagged everything. Every shell company. Every offshore account. Ethan's breath caught. How? Langley hesitated. Then he said two words that made Ethan's vision go red. Darius King. Ethan's fist slammed into his desk. That bastard. First, Mia. Now, Darius. His entire empire was crumbling. Langley spoke carefully. Ethan, you need to start thinking about an exit strategy. Ethan shot him a glare. I don't run. Langley leaned forward. If you don't? You'll be in handcuffs by the end of the week. Ethan's hands trembled. He had to do something. Fast. The city's fury. Willow Heights, 10 a.m. Mia Sullivan stepped out of La Esquina Cafe, greeted by cheers. The people of Willow Heights had won. You did it, Mia. Rosa Alvarez hugged her tightly. The whole world knows what Caldwell did. James Carter grinned, holding up his phone. Investors are pulling out of Caldwell Enterprises left and right. He's bleeding money. Mia exhaled, still on edge. It's not over. He's dangerous when he's cornered. Darius King stepped beside her. Let him come. He smirked. This time, we're ready. But deep down, Mia knew Ethan wouldn't go down quietly. Ethan's last card. Ethan sat in his penthouse, whiskey untouched, mind racing. His business was collapsing. His bank accounts were locked. The FBI was circling. And then, his phone rang. He answered. Tell me you have good news, Trevor. Trevor's voice was cold. Mia's surrounded by people. The city's on her side. We can't touch her. Ethan's fingers tightened around his glass. So we hit her another way. A pause. Then Trevor asked, "How far are we going, Ethan?" Ethan's expression darkened. Far enough. Because if he was going down, he was taking them with him. Caldwell Enterprises, 11:45 p.m. Ethan Caldwell sat alone in his darkened office, staring at the chaos unfolding on his laptop screen. News stations were running his downfall on an endless loop. Loudspeaker: Ethan Caldwell exposed, real estate mogul tied to fraud, murder cover-up. Loudspeaker: FBI prepares arrest warrant for Ethan Caldwell. Loudspeaker: stock crash, Caldwell Enterprises loses 80% of its value in 24 hours. His empire, his legacy, was burning to the ground. And he had one play left. He picked up his phone and dialed. Trevor Marks. Trevor answered, voice wary. "What now, Ethan?" Ethan's voice was dead calm. "We end this." A pause. Then Trevor sighed. "What's the move?" Ethan's grip on the phone tightened. Mia Sullivan. James Carter. Darius King. We take them all out. Trevor hesitated. "Ethan, listen." "No. You listen." Ethan's voice was ice. "They took everything from me. I want them erased." Trevor sighed. "This is suicide." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Then we die swinging." Willow Heights, 2 a.m. Mia sat in James Carter's apartment, hunched over her laptop. Her article had set the city on fire. Now, it was time to finish the job. She typed furiously, putting together one last piece, a full timeline of Ethan's corruption. Darius King stood near the window, arms crossed. "We need to be careful." Mia glanced at him. "You think Caldwell is going to run?" Darius shook his head. "No. He's too arrogant for that." James, sitting nearby, exhaled. "Then he's going to come after us." Mia's stomach tightened. They all knew what Ethan was capable of. But before she could respond, the lights flickered. Then a car engine outside. Darius tensed. "We need to move. Now." James peered through the blinds. His face went pale. Black SUVs. 4 of them. Mia's blood ran cold. Ethan had sent his people. And they were here to kill them. The assault begins. The first gunshot shattered the window. Mia screamed, ducking as glass exploded around them. Darius grabbed a gun from his waistband and fired back, hitting one of the attackers. James was already pulling Mia toward the back door. "Go, go, go." Mia's heart pounded as they bolted into the alley. More gunfire. Tires screeching. Footsteps closing in. Darius fired 2 more shots, forcing the attackers to take cover. James yanked open a car door. "Get in." Mia didn't hesitate. She jumped in. Darius slid into the back seat just as the first SUV came flying toward them. James slammed the gas. The car tore down the alley, tires screeching. Mia glanced behind them. Trevor Marks was in the lead SUV, eyes locked on them. And he wasn't letting them go. Ethan's last stand. Meanwhile, Ethan stood in his now empty penthouse, watching the city lights. Everything he had built was gone. The FBI was coming. The media had destroyed him. And his enemies were still breathing. His phone rang. "Trevor. We lost them." Ethan's fingers dug into his palm. "Find them." Trevor hesitated. "Ethan, it's over." Ethan's vision blurred with rage. "I said find them." But Trevor's voice was calm. "You need to leave, Ethan. While you still can." Ethan stood very still. Then he hung up. He wasn't running. Not from this. Not from them. BI headquarters, 8 a.m. Special Agent Mark Davidson sipped his coffee, watching the news unfold. Loudspeaker breaking, FBI issues arrest warrant for Ethan Caldwell. Loudspeaker, citywide manhunt underway for disgraced real estate mogul. Loudspeaker, Caldwell associates flee as investigation expands. Davidson set his cup down as an agent approached. Sir, we just tracked Caldwell's last phone signal. He's still in the city. Davidson smirked. Good. That means he's desperate. Ethan Caldwell's hideout, 10 a.m. Ethan sat in a dimly lit warehouse, his face blank, his mind racing. This was it. His empire gone. His money frozen. His men either arrested or abandoning him. Trevor Marks paced nearby, checking his gun. Ethan, we have to go. The feds are closing in. Ethan swirled his whiskey glass, his last indulgence. I'm not running. Trevor exhaled sharply. Then what's the plan? A shootout? You think this ends like some action movie? Ethan's jaw tightened. I built this city. And now they act like I'm some criminal? Like I didn't give them jobs? Money? Power? Trevor stared at him. You killed people, Ethan. Ethan slammed his glass down. I made the tough choices. Trevor sighed. Look around. You're alone. A long silence. Then Ethan's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. Who the hell is this? Mia Sullivan's voice came through. It's over, Ethan. Ethan's fingers tightened around the phone. I should have had you killed when I had the chance. Mia's voice was calm. You always thought you were untouchable. But now? You're just another crook on the run. Ethan chuckled darkly. Enjoy your victory, Mia. But remember this: every empire falls. And one day, so will yours. Click. Mia stared at her phone, exhaling. James looked at her. You think he'll surrender? Mia shook her head. No. He's going out on his own terms. The final standoff. By noon, FBI agents surrounded the warehouse. Loudspeakers blared. Ethan Caldwell. Come out with your hands up. Trevor stared at Ethan. This is it. Ethan exhaled, adjusting his cufflinks, still dressed like a king, even at the end. He grabbed his gun, staring at it for a long moment. Then, he tossed it onto the table. Trevor frowned. You're giving up? Ethan smirked. No. I'm making them come to me. Bang. A single gunshot echoed through the warehouse. Trevor's eyes widened. But Ethan wasn't dead. He had shot himself in the leg. The door burst open as FBI agents stormed in. They tackled him to the ground, cuffing him. Ethan grinned through the pain. You took everything, but I got the last move. Davidson crouched beside him. Enjoy prison, Caldwell. As they dragged him outside, reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed. And for the first time in his life, Ethan Caldwell wasn't the man in control. He was the spectacle. Epilogue, 1 year later. Loudspeaker Ethan Caldwell sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. Loudspeaker Mia Sullivan wins Pulitzer for investigative journalism. Loudspeaker Willow Heights restored, city begins affordable housing project. Mia sat in La Esquina Cafe, sipping her coffee. She had won. The people had won. And Ethan Caldwell? He was exactly where he belonged. Behind bars. The empire had fallen. And no one missed him.